this particular thing, that cell cycle regulation is the topic. What are the things you have to study and what are the things you don't need to study that much, that is important. Okay, so first of all, in order to study cell cycle regulation, you have to first know the events which are taking place. Number one is cell growth, then DNA replication, distribution of duplicated chromosome to daughter cells, and cell division. So when this much thing information is given to you, first thing which will come in your mind is cell growth is the first thing. So there will be some growth factor which are responsible for cell cycle. Means cell first grows in size, it has its DNA content that will be duplicated. This duplicated chromosome will be distributed to daughter cells and ultimately to from one to two cells or more cells will be produced. So there are some growth factors which will be important for the purpose of cell cycle. So cell cycle is highly dependent on the growth factor, and note it down that the most of the growth factors perform their activities by receptor tyrosine kinase signaling pathway. So again, from this I can get another conclusion that receptor tyrosine kinase pathway is very much important for cell cycle. Now coming to DNA replication, means what is the basic difference between studying in the degree level and in net level? That when you degree level, you only study what is actually happening, but in net level, when you are studying, you have to think along with study. But when you are studying, means okay, in the cell cycle DNA replication occurs, then only your mind it will come, what are the things which are important for DNA replication? Helicase, topoisomerase, then DNA polymerase. These factors, ligase, these factors are important for DNA replication. Therefore, any changes in these particular enzymes can also alter the fate of cell cycle. So we generally never thought in this way. We always think, okay, this is cell cycle, this thing happen. But question will come in this analytical way, that if there is any problem in receptor tyrosine kinase pathway, will there be any change in the cell cycle? You will think, what, where cell signaling, where is cell cycle? Both are like two different domain for us, but it is not thing. Everything within our cell are interconnected, and cell depends on growth factor, and DNA replication machinery is also important. Now when it is distributed, means the chromosome has been duplicated and it is distributing into two daughter cell, because from class 9 we are studying about cell division. This much study we know, that there are basically I mean, earlier classes we have studied that there is cell division. 4 phases are there in mitosis: prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. In prophase, the coiled chromosome will be uncoiled. This nuclear membrane, nucleolus will be disappeared. Then spindle will be formed from centriole. So two centrioles will migrate to two poles of the cell, and from them astral rays will be projected, and this spindle will be formed in prophase. It will start forming. In metaphase, what will happen? All the chromosome will be aligned at the particular zone of the cell, which is called equatorial zone of the cell. And in the zone, when the chromosomes are aligned, they will be attached in the spindle with the help of their centromere, which is the central part of the chromosome. Then we know from our earlier basic knowledge that from in the anaphase step there will be the polar movement of the spindle. So the division of duplication chromosome will occur, and in anaphase it will migrate to two poles, and in telophase ultimately it will be reaching at two extremes, and ultimately then what will happen? The nuclear division will end, and then the cytoplasmic division will end, and ultimately two cells are formed. This is the basic study which we are studying from class 9. But when we are studying from this particular time, we have to remember that when distribution of duplicated chromosome to daughter cell is happening, then the protein of the spindle means the microtubular proteins which are helping to form, those are also important. Means when we actually studied about the movement of the chromosome to the poles, that means actually polymerization and depolymerization of the microtubules which are forming the spindle. So therefore these are very important for study, that how the cytoskeletal proteins are also important for cell cycle. And ultimately the cell division. Cell division means the karyokinesis and cytokinesis together. Now coming to our main portion. Okay, so phases of cell cycle. So if you see cell cycle, it is broadly classified into two parts. One is interphase and another is mitosis. From class 9 to class 11 mainly we have focused about mitosis. In 11 we studied a little bit about interphase, but when we came to degree course and in MSc, then we actually realized that mitosis is just the end of the cell cycle. The main preparation, the all cells, they live their entire life mostly in the interphase. Interphase takes the longest duration. Here are the so many candidate molecules are performing, so it's kind of a mass work, a collaborated work is happening in the case of interphase. So interphase have basically three steps. One is G1, another S, another G2. Then coming to karyokinesis and cytokinesis, these two are the part of mitosis. G1 is the fast growth phase. That is why it is named as G1, growth 1. S is the synthetic phase, means here the DNA replication will occur. And G2 is the time when every chromosome will have their particular shape, and actually G2 is the time when RNA and other important things will be produced. So frequency of cell division, that is important, means frequency is the rate of cell division. How much cell division occurs, that depends on the different conditions. Like in embryo, the cell cycle is less than 30 minutes, because in embryo the cells are rapidly growing, they are fast in division. So in embryo the cell cycle lasts less than 30 minutes. In skin cell, skin is also very much rapidly dividing cell. In skin cell it divides frequently throughout life, 12 to 24 hours of cell cycle. In liver cell, it retain the ability to divide but keep in reserve. And in mature nerve cell, it generally do not divide it permanently in G0 stage. G0 is an intermediate stage before G1, in which some cell, it is called a kind of dormant stage, where cells go if they have some kind of extra preparation for them. Some of the cells, they remain permanently in G0. Some cells come from G0 to G1. So what happened? And the time duration, if I consider like skin cell, where a cell cycle is continuing for 24 hours, then growth 1 phase is for 12 hours. So it is actually in the interphase, or in the throughout the cell cycle, the longest duration is taken in the growth 1 phase, because it is that time. Just remember that after G1 phase it is S phase, and I just told you that in S phase DNA replication will happen. So the protein formation, protein synthesis of DNA polymerase, topoisomerase, helicase, these all proteins which will be just required after the G1 phase, that all will be produced in G1 phase. So whatever S proteins, those will be produced during G1 phase, and the RNA. So here it is longer duration, because they are first of all checking that enough nutrient requirements are present or not. That is, next they will see that the growth factors are there or not. Then the growth factors will perform the signaling activity. Then as a result of the downstream activity of the signaling, the first of all the transcription of those genes will start. Now after transcription has occurred, translation and the protein folding and everything, the protein modification, processing, everything will be done. Protein is ready, then it will go to the S phase. S phase takes 6 hours, because entire we have 3 into 10 to the power 9. So therefore these all genes has to be means duplicated. Now coming to G2 phase, it is actually for segregate of chromosomes, and M phase is for division, which is actually take 30 minutes. Now, if I coming to the DNA replication, this portion is very important. That is why I have highlighted this portion for today's class. That what will happen to DNA replication means DNA to present in cell every time. So why it is only at the S phase the replication will occur? No, why not in G1? Why not in G2? Why not in M? This is because of the regulator, the modulator proteins. For example, in order to start a DNA replication, there is a particular site which is called origin. Okay, if this is for the higher eukaryotes we are discussing today. So in eukaryotes there is a particular region which is called origin, and in eukaryote there are multiple origin. Means this type, the origin, what is origin? Origin means a particular sequence, AT-rich sequence. Okay, so this type of AT-rich sequence are present in many sites of particular DNA duplex. So there is a multi-protein complex called origin recognition complex, ORC, that first scans through the DNA and identifies the particular sequence which is a better origin complex. Better sequence means the sequence from where unwinding will be easier for the helicase. So there might be many origin sequence, but among them the better sequence, better AT-rich sequence from where they can easily unwind, that sequence will be selected, and two other sequences will be inhibited. That other sequences, there will be regulator protein will bind to other origin, and my target origin from where the replication will start, their ORC, origin recognition complex, will bind. Now what will happen? A helicase, specific helicase named MCM helicase, it will come to, MCM is the helicase for the eukaryotes. Okay. So MCM will come because my MCM has to find the location. So MCM will see where it will find that ORC is there. There only MCM will bind. Okay. So your answer I will give in the end. Sure, Mr. So what happens? So MCM will come here. Now what will happen? When MCM is here, then it will start unwinding. Then once it has unwounded, then DNA polymerase will come and then it will start. So this loading of MCM helicase, this only occurs during the S phase. Otherwise in G1 phase also MCM will not come because G1 phase it don't know where to go. And in G2 phase also, when once a polymerase will actually come, actually before S phase, in the G1 phase only MCM helicase, late G1 phase. If I consider this much full as the G1 phase, in the early G1 phase, MCM will not be there. In the late G1 phase and early S phase, in this transition, MCM helicase will come. When the early S phase is gone, polymerase has came, then MCM will go there and polymerase will perform its replication in G2. So already DNA duplex has been occurred. So that is why only this time, this transition period is the time for loading of MCM helicase, and that is why DNA replication only occurs at the S phase. So the question comes like this. This is one of the earlier net question. There they have told that what happens. So the answer is actually MCM helicase, they comes during the late G1 phase. So now this is another thing, means during the cell cycle we can know that how many cells are there, means the frequency of the cells within the cell cycle phase we can determine using fluorescence stain attached to DNA. There are many stains which can adapt to DNA. For example, propidium iodide. So propidium iodide can bind to DNA, and what happens during the G1 phase, when already the DNA duplication has not yet occurred, then the amount of DNA is in the G1 phase, in particular one cell, the total amount of DNA will be more, but in G2M phase, the cells has been divided. Therefore, we can see half of the DNA in the G2 to M. It does not mean that the chromosome number has been duplicated. It actually means that in the case of G1 phase, in the cell within the DNA content, one cell the DNA content is more. When G2 to M phase it came, then the DNA content is coming. Yes, all the questions I will answer at the end. Okay, so in G2 to M phase, the already the cells have divided, therefore the DNA content will be divided content. So we can see a peak like this. So this is a condition means whenever you will, this is actually analyzed in a particular machine which is called flow cytometer. In flow cytometer, what happens? Fluorescent lights by laser beam, they are passed through the cell by two method. One is called forward scatter and another is called side scatter. Means if there is a cell present, the light will go through, pass through it. Wherever there will be any fluorescent things, the by heating with the fluorescent light or the laser light, their portions will emit the fluorescence, and the fluorescence intensity can be captured in the computer, and we can get the DNA content. And by seeing the DNA content, we can understand that how many cells are there in G1 and how many cells are there in S phase and how many cells are there in G2 to M phase. These are the peaks, are actually the number of cells are shown. So what happens? So if I consider the transition, so from first G1 to S, then G2 to M, this will go. So from G1 to S, before going here, there is a small phase which is called the G0. There is a greatest checking, because whatever your DNA content, it is your genetic information. So it has to be properly replicated. Therefore, it can go for division, because if there is wrong, then mutation can occur and that can lead to damage. So therefore, what happens in G1, first of all, there is a highly checking that whether the things are properly, every requirements are there or not. So this particular checking is called restriction point, which is influenced by the growth factor, the nutrient, the cell size, and the DNA damage. Mainly this is found the DNA damage checkpoint. Then in the S phase, the synthesis occurs. Now again in the G2 to M, there is another checkpoint. There is influenced by the cell size, because particular threshold level of cell size is if needed. Again, after DNA replication, there might be DNA damage or replication, misincorporation of nucleotide. For those, that has to be also removed and repaired. Then when everything is okay, then it will go to this. Now when metaphase to anaphase transition, it will come when the chromosomes will move to the two poles of the cell. Then also there is spindle assembly checkpoint, because if the chromosomes are not properly aligned in the spindle, then they will not segregate. So now these are the cell cycle checkpoint, three checkpoint, G1 to S, G2 to M, and spindle assembly checkpoint. So these were previously first studied in Saccharomyces cerevisiae and Saccharomyces pombe, these two yeast, and there they found that the first checkpoint which was discovered, that was start, and this was due to nutrient mating factor and cell size. And here in higher eukaryotes also we find three type of, particularly major three type of G1 to S, and during S phase also, if damaged DNA or unreplicated DNA or too much misincorporation of bases occur, then also a checkpoint is present. So this is one experiment has been taken, heterokaryon experiment, in which two cells were taken. One cell was in S phase and another cell was in G1 phase. Now what happened? This nucleus was inserted into this cell. So when it was inserted, no other factors were taken. So these cells of the nucleus, these only have the nuclear content DNA. So this nucleus was inserted into the S phase cell. And strikingly, it was observed that both of the nucleus came into the S phase. So how this occurred? Because we didn't give anything. So that means from this the scientist came into the conclusion that there might be some cytoplasmic factors which are playing role in determining a particular cell to go to its respective phases of cell cycle. So later in Saccharomyces pombe also they have used one mutant yeast strain. In mutant yeast strain they have seen that in small cells there are too many division, and big yeast cell they don't do enough cell division. So in that case V1, an inhibitory kinase, which is means in the case of elongated cell, there is increased G2 phase, and in the case of a small cell there are decreased G2 phase. So this is because of when excess CDC25 is present, or when there is deficit of V1 is present. So they from then they purified all the cytoplasmic products from the yeast to see that which of the candidate protein is performing in the cell cycle, and ultimately they came into that this V1 and CDC25 they act together, and they act together in which there are there is a particular thing which is called maturation promoting factor, which is a couple of mitotic cyclin protein and cyclin dependent kinase. So CDC25 is the protein which will allow the cyclin CDK complex to work, and V1 will not allow. Now this from a mature egg cell, the cytoplasmic extracted were taken and it was injected into an oocyte which is not that much in the division phase. So what happened when this cytoplasmic extract were given to this oocyte? It has been found that the oocyte underwent into the meiosis. This again confirms that there are cytoplasmic factors which play a role in the case of progression of cell cycle. So now we came in to know that there are two complex, one is cyclin and another CDK. We have given one example, cyclin B and CDK1. Cyclin is a protein which has a kind of uh, formation, means synthesis, then it will become active, then it will degrade. So cyclin is like this, but CDK is a partner of cyclin. Whenever cyclin is bound to CDK, then only it is active. Again, on the contrary, CDK is also active when cyclin is a partner which binds with them, and ultimately they together, because CDK is cyclin dependent kinase and the kinase enzyme is a group of enzyme, they generally phosphorylate their target substrates. So cyclin and CDK, by phosphorylating other molecular factors, they actually turn on transcription of specific genes which will cause the progression of cell cycle, the stages. Okay. So now we should know, I have already told you what are the phases of cell cycle. So we should know what are the cyclin and CDK partners, and this is very, very important, this portion, that every time this question comes, and it should be known for all of us also, that which are the candidate molecules with their key players for G1, S, G2, M and those. So if I start from G1, in early G1, it is cyclin D and CDK4 or 6. And there are inhibitors also, CDK inhibitors. When if there is any problem in the cell, some inhibitors will get activated, and they are P15, P16, P19, P21, P27, P57. They are the CDK inhibitors for the G1 early G1 phase. Now coming to the late G1 phase. Late G1 phase, what will happen? The cyclin E and CDK2, these are the key players for the late G1 phase. What is their function? Their function is to phosphorylate this RB protein and E2F, they generally stay in a bound condition. So when this CDK is phosphorylate RB, it becomes inactive and it loses, and E2F, it is a transcription factor. It went at the particular response element region in the DNA and turns on transcription of the specific genes, which are cyclin E or A. Means just see the next one, because when they are going, the next cyclin will be cyclin E. So they will turn on the transcription of cyclin E and cyclin A like this, and ultimately the cell cycle will progress. Any problem in this region in CDK activity, then RB will not be phosphorylated. So RB and E2F will be in a couple form. So E2F will not be free to bind at the DNA region, and the expression of genes will be not there. As a result, they cannot go to S phase. So cyclin A and CDK2 are the next cyclin CDK partners for the S phase, and in G2 cyclin B and CDK1, the photo which I have shown you earlier. So these are the important part you have. This is very, very important. If you can even take a screenshot of this slide if you want, because this is the most important portion from where questions will come every year, guarantee. Next. So this is a basic how they work that I want to show you. That cyclin and CDK, this partner, they have shown like this. This is a, they tried to show a quaternary fact. This photo is taken from Cooper. Okay. So there are some, we all know protein is made up of amino acid, but among them, some of the amino acids are very, very important for their functionality. For example, threonine and tyrosine in the case of CDK. So there are activatory phosphorylation as well as inhibitory phosphorylation. Like for example, for if any like for example, threonine 160 is one of the threonine where if phosphorylation occurs, it is activatory. But here again, when threonine 14 and tyrosine 15 gets phosphorylated, it is inhibitory. So when when CDK inhibitors will associate, then inhibitory phosphorylation will occur. In the absence of CDK inhibitors, activatory phosphorylation will occur. So like this, cyclin CDK works. So this is a very good graph to show you how cyclins are formed and they degraded. Again, they are formed and degraded. So for example, cyclin D, it starts synthesis and activate in the in a G1 phase. It is more, then it gets a plateau, means not more growth, and then ultimately it gets depleted. Then cyclin E, it led G1 to mid S phase. Cyclin A also starts from late G1, but it goes at the peak during the late S phase to the G2 phase, and the cyclin B is the G2 to M transition expert. So this is only I told you with the diagram that it forms. First of all, cyclins only degrades, CDK does not. CDKs are recycled. So CDK will again come and bind with cyclin, and thus it will occur. So now coming to some of the progression. Number one, P27, CDK2 and cyclin F, they form a trimer. So when restriction point is there, then what happens? After everything is okay, P27 will be removed. So when P27 is removed, then CDK2 and cyclin E will be activated and they will cause the ORC to bind at the origin, and DNA polymerase will bind and every DNA replication will be there. So it is during the entry into S phase. Entry into S phase will occur when P27 in early G1 phase, cyclin E and CDK2 is bound by P27. But when everything is okay, P27 will be removed and this cyclin E and CDK2 will be activated. Similarly, this is in the case of G2 to M progression. When cyclin B and CDK1 are there, which I have just told you, there are two kind of phosphorylation. When there is phosphorylation in only threonine 161, then it is the activatory phosphorylation and it will go into the mitosis. But when there will be dephosphorylation, and after the subsequent dephosphorylation, when the cyclin B will be again formed and cyclin CDK partner will be formed, then they will be there. So before the G2 phase, the CDK will be phosphorylated in the both in the triple triphosphorylation will be there. So it is neither active nor repressed. Then after that, when it is activatory, these two will be dephosphorylated and only this one will be remain phosphorylated. Means the threonine 14 and tyrosine 15 will be dephosphorylated and this threonine 161 will remain phosphorylated. Then after the work is done, cyclin B will be degraded by proteasomal degradation, and then after that entire all dephosphorylation, then again rephosphorylation. So there is a cycle of phosphorylation and rephosphorylation. So this is the overall cycle. Now we are discussing about the checkpoint. So first there are basically three checkpoints. I must tell you, one is the DNA damage checkpoint, then there is a G2 to M checkpoint, and another is spindle assembly checkpoint. So what happens? Why DNA damage checkpoint happen? So due to any stress, due to radiation, or due to internal problem, there are sometimes DNA double strand break. Either it can be double strand break or it can be single strand break. So when double strand break occurs, then ataxia telangiectasia mutated ATM protein with other with partner, they all get activated and bind to the particular region of this DNA break point. So once they are there, they will go to CHK2, they will phosphorylate CHK2. CHK2, when it gets phosphorylate, it will cause, CHK is another kinase, so it will then phosphorylate CDC25A. CDC25A then block CDK2 activity, so there will be arrest in G1 and S phase because DNA double strand break is more extensive damage. While in the case of DNA single strand break, ataxia, telangiectasia, rat3 related ATR protein will get activated and it will see single stranded break or unreplicated DNA, and it will phosphorylate CHK1. CHK1 again similarly, it will phosphorylate CDC25 and it will block CDK1 activity and G2 arrest will happen. Similarly, where how P53 and RB, these two are very important for the cell cycle checkpoint protein. So what happened, like as I told you, ATM can activate CHK2 as well as P53. P53 when gets activated, it will bind at the breakage of the DNA and it will cause the transcription of P21 mRNA, and P21 protein will be formed. P21 will bind with cyclin E CDK2 and it will arrest cell cycle. On the other hand, there is a partner RB and E2F, they always remain in couple, but during the proper timing, CDK4 and cyclin D, they phosphorylate RB, so E2F is free and cause the transcription. But if the other things are not okay, then CDK4 and cyclin D is already got inhibitory phosphorylation. As a result, RB and E2F, they remain bound. So transcription is repressed. So P53 is often called a guardian of genome. This is not because of it can check the G1 to S, and also it can send the means damaged DNA cell to apoptosis. So what does it do when it is activated by checkpoint kinases CHK1 and CHK2? Initially, P53 is a very low stable protein, because if other things are okay, it generally gets degraded by MDM2. It is a proteasomal degradation. It gets degraded to P53. But when the things are not in good condition, then they are phosphorylated by CHK, and CHK causes better stability of P53. Now it can bind to the damaged DNA, and also it can bind to the enhancer sequence of P21 and PUMA. So when it is binding to the enhancer sequence of P21, it can cause the transcription of P21, which will arrest the cyclin CDK, and it can cause cell cycle arrest. On the other hand, when it is causing Puma transcription translation, so it will inhibit BCL2, which is an anti-apoptotic protein. So BCL2 cannot prevent the apoptosis, so apoptosis will happen. So that is why P53 is ultimately checking that whether a cell will go to the cell cycle progression or it will die. Now coming to G2 to M checkpoint, it happens when this P and CDC2 phosphate, it is basically when nutrient requirement is enough, then they will transit, otherwise the inhibitory phosphorylation of CDK will occur. So this is the basic of the cell which I told you. Now coming to another important part. After then the mitosis portion, everything is okay, but during the anaphase, when the spindles are going to segregate, when the chromosomes are going to segregate, that is important. So what happens initially, the two pairs of the two arms of a chromosome, there is a particular protein called cohesin which binds at the G2 phase. Now in the prophase, the condensing protein, they binds within the chromosome and cause chromosome condensation and ultimately giving this particular shape in the metaphase. Now how cyclin CDK is important for the anaphase promotion, that is important. What happens when the chromosomes are at one portion is attached with the spindle and another portion is unattached. So when the chromosomes kinetochore or the centromere is not attached with spindle, then BAB and MAD, these two protein, they basically get bound to this region. But upon correct timing, what happens? This CDC20, this will be bound with the MAT protein. This MAT protein, it can bind to the CDC20 until anaphase has not come. During anaphase promoting complex APC, it will come and remove MAT protein and will bind with the CDK20. Now once CDK20 and APC are bound together, then they will cause phosphorylation in the cyclin B, and it will cause degradation of cyclin. Another two protein, securin and separase, it will cause degradation of securin, and ultimately separase will be active, which will cause separation of the chromosome. So this is the overall concept of cell cycle. So from these portions which I have highlighted, those will come in the exam. But keep it in mind that whenever you are studying, find the key